is nothing wrong with your YouTube player. Do not attempt to adjust the oh, sorry. Okay, anyway. Hello folks, this is Aiden, and this week's episode's theme was The Outer Limits. The winner of the Patreon voting poll is the Zanti Misfits, which is not surprising given that this is one of the most well-known episodes of the series. It won some TV Guide poll for best 100 episodes ever. Kids TV Guide is something we used long before the internet came around, and the Zanti Misfits has been referenced many other times in pop culture since. Now, The Outer Limits, it's a classic TV series, of course, and it's usually compared to, like, The Twilight Zone, and if you're a hardcore monster fan, there's also similarities to Ultra Q. The difference, though, is that Twilight Zone and Ultra Q did sort of change the tone of the series, jumped around between, like, fantasy, horror, sci-fi, comedy, drama, and so on, whereas The Outer Limits was, for the most part, hardcore science fiction. It had a very serious tone. I can't recall any time when there was ever really any clowning around. If you're more into serious science fiction, then The Outer Limits is probably for you, and if not, then, you know, there's a few funny, unintentionally funny things here and there, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now, the Zanti Misfits. Not those Misfits. As far as episodes go, this one has a pretty simple plot. There were some episodes of The Outer Limits that, like most hardcore science fiction, gets very complicated and leads you to a lot of paths along the way. Zanti Misfits is, for the most part, pretty straightforward. Earth has formed some sort of communication with a distant planet or dimension, I forget, called Zanti. Their dealio is that they're going to send some of their criminals for disposal here on Earth, and their one condition is they want privacy at all costs, under penalty of death. And I think anybody who's ever wanted a privacy at some time in their life will know that if your privacy is disturbed, things can get kind of messy. Anyway, what are the Zantis themselves? Well, the Zantis, when they're finally revealed, sort of look like big potato bugs with grotesque human faces, and these things really did creep out a lot of people back in the day. It's kind of funny to think that a lot of the monsters in The Outer Limits, they had some very classic designs. These were regarded as pretty scary for the time for American television, and the Zanti Misfits, when they're finally revealed, are pretty creepy pieces of work. Now, for the most part, the special effects for the Zantis are achieved by stop motion, and it's very well done. Stop motion, of course, was very rare on television at the time because it's time-consuming and expensive, but they still went to the effort to use it, and it works marvelously. For most of the episode, the special effects are really good. There is a very suspenseful tone, and even some pretty intense moments of horror when these things finally do attack and reveal how dangerous they are. And then you get to the final big battle between the army and the Zantis, and unfortunately, this is where the tone changes to unintentionally hilarious. Anybody who knows and loves stop motion also knows that it is a very expensive procedure, and for the most part, it was used very sparingly in this episode. When you get to the big battle at the end, unfortunately, stop motion is not used for the Zantis, and they're mostly done by puppets and props pulled along in strings. And I'm sorry to say, with all due respect to the people who had to make the show under the time and budget constraints that they did, it's pretty goddamn hysterical. One of the funniest moments is just when a soldier runs up to the top of the stairs, just sees a Zanti sitting there, and he pulls out a pistol and shoots it right in the face. It will crack you up when you see it. When you add to the fact that the Zanti's death cries are this really silly high-pitched scream, which I swear to God, it sounds like Mel Blanc doing one of his cartoon character shrieks. Yeah, you'll get a big kick out of it. Again, I'm saying this with a lot of respect to the people who made the show, but let's face it, there's a lot of old-time TV and movies that a lot of us are going to watch just for the unintentional hilarity value, and you're going to get a little bit of something of everything with the Zanti Misfits. Okay, we return control of your YouTube viewer to you. Thank you very much, folks. Feel free to join me along on patreon.com/scapula, and thank you again for voting for this poll. Catch you next time, guys. Bye-bye.